This segment is going to be about counterfeit Moorish doctrine. All right. Fella. All right. Get us situated here. Hey, little spider. How you doing? Good morning, grand risings to you. All right. There we go. All right. I'm going to go over what I know for sure to be counterfeit assertions of the Moorish American diaspora. All right. So, first and foremost, Noble Drew Ali is not the first person to make mention of the so-called Negroes being Moors. Okay. Noble Drew Ali learned this himself. This So he obviously had to have found out from someone else. I just woke up not too long ago. And after doing my morning breathing ritual, light my incense or whatnot, and just allowing my mind to free up, I then got a hold of my phone, right? Opened up the TikTok app. I scrolled, and I came across what I always seem to come across, which is misinformation regarding a Moorish divine and national movement and the identity of Moorish Americans here in America, right? For those of you who may not be familiar with the Moorish movement, right? There are a group of people out here who are attempting to identify themselves as Moroccan descendants and American Indians, right? So this right here, let me just point it out. This shit right here, this El Bay thing, or even this Al Day thing, right? Anytime you see someone with the title El Bay or Al Day or any variation of 2 and 1, these are the people who identify as American Indian, and who also attempt to ridicule the actual American Indian. Right? So I was listening to a sister, and I'm not going to say names right now. I mean, they may slip out, but I don't intentionally mean to put anybody's names out there, right? But I was going through TikTok, and I see this sister, right? And she claims that she's an empress, right? And she claims that she's an indigenous American. And I just overheard her making the same statements that I've been making, right? As far as that white status belonging to the Moors. One of the things you will definitely take notice of in these counterfeit people is that they will identify other groups of people as thieves of their culture, right? And this has been a trend as long as I'm aware of, particularly here on TikTok, where you have people out here attempting to claim that others are, appropriating whatever the case may be, right? So the individual, she goes on to say that, hey, white doesn't mean skin tone; it's a status. It means pure. And then she goes and says that someone, and she's speaking to the European brothers and sisters, saying that, they stole. They stole our identity. Nobody stole the Moorish identity, right? Nobody stole any classifications. So this individual, who is a counterfeit Muslim, she's a counterfeit Moor, pardon. She goes on this tantrum in most of her most of her work, where she's attempting to distinguish people based on their skin tone, right? And we're not, I don't reckon that you, the individual listening in, is slow enough to not catch on that she's attempting to identify those of European descent, as thieves of other people's culture. All right. So why do I call this individual counterfeit, right? These are not the teachings of Drew Ali. All right. Yeah. Give me one quick second. And then I'm going to put it up on the board, right? How you can identify off rip. Those individuals who have mixed doctrines and, in all honesty, don't even adhere to the Moorish perspective as it was laid out, right? These people have deviated. They have started their own movements, if you will, right? And then they use that brother up there on the board. They'll use his image, his likeness, right? And they'll use some of his information, but only portions of his information will they use, right? And that's just what you see in all infiltrated movements. Just like I ain't gonna get too deep into that. All right, give me a second here. Give me a moment to stoke my flame. All right. Do I have any other lighter down here? No, so I have to use the silk shocker joint now. All right. All right. Mr. Flat out time. I think it was slow. All right. Counterfeit. I should have left that up there, but let me tell you all this. The teachings of Drew Ali. And again, I have all the public teachings of Drew Ali that I myself collected, right? Because no one assisted me. No one was willing to help. But I went and I found as much of the public presentation that Noble Drew Ali had established, right, in order to identify his Moors and his Muslims, right? So first and foremost, Drew Ali taught unity, tolerance, right? We'll just use these two for now. Drew Ali taught tolerance and unity. He taught oneness, all right? And his understanding was that these Moorish Americans who were called black Negroes and colors, that they were American citizens just like the other fellow Americans, okay? If you were to actually look and study his information, even in part, you'll see that Drew Ali was teaching that the American people have various origins, but that all of us here in America, damn, that is super duper, there we go. But that all of us here in America, damn, that shit got dumb right, didn't it? Share these lands, these rules, these customs, if you will, as one people. So first and foremost, Moorish Americans are not supposed to be looking at Europeans or Middle Easterners or any other body of people as if they are, as if they have stolen someone's culture, right? Another thing about Drew Elliott, this is how you can identify those people who, though they talk like though they express themselves as being Moors, right? It's not this doctrine brought by this brother. It's something new that they're put, right? Drew Elliott was born Thomas Drew. All right. And then a lot of people were calling him Timothy. All right. And there's a whole segment that I may just have to pull up that actually explains why these names are different. Right? Because Drew Elliott says that he did not tell his people where he was born or who his parents were because they were all superstitious and, out of their own minds and whatnot. And he didn't wish for them to go back to his true land, birthplace of origin in order to make his parents over like people did Jesus and Mary, yada, 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 right? Anyway, Thomas Drew was from Norfolk, Virginia, not North Carolina. Anywho. All right. Shit. To my understanding, let me be honest. All right. These are the titles: Ali, L, which is still Ali, and May. These are the titles that Drew Ali placed upon his organization. Just like we see that the Nation of Islam, they placed Muhammad. Some of them still have Ali with them, but there are titles associated with a particular organization. Drew Ali said the L's and Bays, right? That he himself was an Ali, and he wasn't the only Ali, right? You have today, like I said, there are people now using they, all right, and there are people using yeah. And these people who use al and they, you will notice that a lot of them like to connect titles as if these titles, and here you go. They treat these titles as if they are tribal. I'm from the El Bay tribe. Right? This is what they tell you, right? Ali is Arabic, El is Aramaic, Bay is Turkish. I thought somebody said something. All right. So Ali is Arabic, El is Aramaic. We can even, well, let me see. Turks. It might even be Syrian, right? El might be. But I know for a fact that Bay is Turkish. So we have Arabic, Aramaic, or Hebraic, and Turkish. This is definitely Hebraic, which is why it's on my shit. Can't really see it. We'll see if I can put it. Yeah. I have Ali. Man, you can kind of see it. You can make it out, right? I have this on. I understand that these titles are the same, right? These are not tribes. This is what yeah. This is what they'll do, right? This is what you'll hear them say. Ali, El Bay, Dan, Al. These are supposed to be the 5 civilized tribes here in America, right? Of Moorish descent, right? They try to make these titles again tribal, and it's just not the true custom. Let me see here. More conservative. So I'm gonna bring this individual up who desires to come on. We'll see what this individual has to say. Well, they've already left, so it is what it is, regardless. All right. They will tell you, dude, we keep having this. It's a spider, he's very curious. Where's he at? I don't see where. Oh, it's somewhere in here. But nonetheless, anywho, it is here. I know that he wants to see you, she wants to see you, but I ain't got time for it. So again, they'll tell you Ali El Bay Dan Al, and they'll say that's what? That's the I don't really know the Choctaw, the Cherokee, or Sloggy, or the Dene, whatever you want to call them. Those again, if you know them, you have people tell you that these titles represent those 5 nations, right? And then I always wanted to ask them, well, what about the 6th tribe? That came in later. What title does that go under with them? But anyway, these people are not Moorish Americans. The people who perpetuate that these titles represent tribes. These are not Moorish Americans. Another way you'll be able to recognize these counterfeits, right? Again, I'm showing you Drew. This is his name, Thomas Drew, right? He left his first name off, right? He took on a title, which, if you know, this is a Shriner's title, noble, right? Which is the same as the honorable. When you go to court, the honorable this person, or when you're dealing in politics, the honorable this, the honorable. That's what the noble stands for, right? And then the brother he kept his last name and annexed the title of Ali, right? So we still see his last name, okay? But you have Moors who have totally gotten rid of it. Raleigh tells you don't do this, but they've totally gotten rid of their last name, right? And they just took on a title, right? And so there may be any variation of a first name and then a title, no last name. Or you will see that they've gotten rid of their name totally, right? And they've taken on a whole other name, right? Like we'll use Taharka, Aboke, Bay, right? So you'll see people and they'll take a whole new name, right? Um, it's Anthony or whatever. You'll see that they'll get rid of their whole names, right? And take on all new names, right? And and then attach their titles to it, right? Drew Ali was not teaching his people. He specifically told his people, don't get rid of your last names, or he said, don't get rid of your slave names because you have birthrights under them, right? Yeah, we have people here who are even in official seats in certain Moorish organizations who have gotten rid of their whole name, who have attempted to get on this indigenous whatever, right? They don't do what they were told, right? This is how you can tell who's counterfeit, just off face value, right? Girali taught all of his Moors, right? Well, here's an example. We had James. No, you know what? We'll use another one. Charles Kirkman. All right. He took on the title of Bey, right? And he dropped the Charles. He just kept the C, right? This is how Moorish Americans were taught to identify themselves, right? That the name that is always said first is the family name, followed by a title, name and principle, right? Name and principle, right? If I change my name from whatever it is to, we'll say something like Nancy L. Day, right? Something, something like that, right? And that's not the name that I was born with, right? This is not the way that things are supposed to be written, right? Whether there's a hyphen between them or not. If I do this, that immediately takes me out of this whole diaspora that this brother brought, right? You're no longer affiliated with that organization or with that movement. Changing things, right, means that you have your own agenda and you're now under your own movement. All right. Damn, it's not charging but that's fine. Whatever. This is not to throw shade on anybody, but this is to point out the fact that there are people out here who are misrepresenting the Moorish diaspora. And this is why Moorish Americans like myself particularly are looked at as fucking noodles and frauds and shit. Because you have people out here doing shit that's not authorized and then putting it in the name of this individual. So those who are not aware of it think that everybody dealing with this brother or his information are fucking noodles and frauds. Right? Again, there are people who are out here attempting to say that Moorish Americans are Native Americans. Moorish Americans are not Native Americans. Right? If you are a Moor and an American Indian, then the term Moor is only referencing that you have dark skin. It's not referencing that that you have ancestral lineage and heritage in North Africa and that you've come over here to the Americas, and set up certain civilizations, right? When they say that they are Moorish Indians or whatever the case may be, they're attempting to say that they are those people, the American Indians, who will tell you, even the American Indians will tell you, yeah, we weren't seafaring people, we weren't out there in the oceans, we didn't build any of the pyramids here in America. they'll tell you that that's not their ancestry. But you have these American Indian Moors, right, who again are attributing all of this North African and Egyptian uh, uh, history, right? They are identifying it with being the inlander, if you will, Indians. And again, the inlander Indians, the ones that we know of today, the brothers and sisters that we see, they will tell you culturally that they weren't those people. They weren't the ones who built the Olmecs. They just honored the Olmec. They didn't build any ships. They were not out here sailing the seven seas like the North African Moors were. Right? So Drew Ali went to the Pan American Conference. And a Pan American Conference is a conference in which all American nations. So notice that there are various nations in America that come together that make up the American nation. Various American nations come together in order to support one another, delegate the resources held by the American people and whatnot, right, of the various nations. So Noble Drew Ali went to the Pan American Conference in like 1928. And he represented Moors, right? You can even see him now. If you could see this picture, he has on Moroccan regalia. He does not have on Native American regalia. He has North African, particularly Moroccan, and he even has a Turkish brooch. But nonetheless, he has a North African resonation. It says that he represented the Moors, and it says that there was an Indian chief who represented the American Indians. So that's showing you that there's a distinction between the Moorish Americans and the American Indians, both being American citizens, American people, American nations, right? All right. All right. So if Drew Ali represented Moors at the Pan American Conference and an Indian chief represented the American Indians at the Pan American Conference, and the Secretary of State Hughes represented the United States here at the Pan American Conference, all three of these nations are individual, but together. They're unified. They recognize one another, but they are not one and the same. An American Indian is not a United States citizen. They have their own classifications. American Indian or Alaska Native. This is the ethnicity and race identification form that's used here in America, right, to identify your race. The American Indian race is not the same as the Moorish American race. All right, so again, these counterfeit Moors who want to be Indians, they're saying that they are a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, and who maintain tribal affiliation or community attachment. That's what they're saying. All right, but for the North Africans, right, Drew Ali represented North Africans, okay, as Americans, as a nation in America, right? White is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. So Drew Ali was not identifying his people as American Indians at all, whatsoever. Yet, like I said, as a matter of fact, I was on the phone with a brother yesterday who identifies as Moorish American. He was attempting to convince myself that, Indian identification, right, was the way to our salvation, right? And I listened to the brother and I let him say the things, that he was saying, but I noticed that even in his delivery, he was real niggified, and if someone's attempting to give you intelligent information, yet they can't speak intelligently, right? Brother, nigga this, black that, and these motherfuckers this, and I'm like, yo, that's and had the audacity the first when he reached out to me on YouTube. He said, if you're not an agent, as if to say that I'm someone who has come to the movement and for whatever purpose am attempting to mislead the people through misrepresentation of what this brother brought. Now, Drew Ali told you don't speak like the way the brother was speaking. Drew Ali definitely told us don't speak like that. Don't talk like that. Don't be like that, right? Because ignorance begets more ignorance, right? Oh, it is charging. Cool. Right? But yeah, this brother was trying to sell me on, again, the concept that I should identify through some type of Indian something. He was trying to tell me something that had that was relative to Indian and I guess documents, whatever the case may be, right? And I let the brother run on and talk because the more that a person talks, the more they're going to reveal what they truly know. Mind you, this brother, he talking to me like he's just this scholar and he knows a lot, and to keep it 100 with you, he did correct me on certain things, right? One second. All right. Yeah. So this brother attempted to, like I said, sell me on some information, and he was telling me that he was the most knowledgeable of Drew Ali's information, right? This is what the brother was telling me. Yet you're trying to tell me that I should identify or I should get down with some Indian presentation. And if I were to do anything as an Indian, I would be appropriating or misappropriating. If I'm out here walking around talking about I'm the Aboriginal, indigenous American, ooh, and that no other group of people were here or who have any ownership. If I was out here talking like that, I would be going against him and his whole movement. I find myself speaking to people who do not identify as Moorish American. And I find myself clarifying what it means to be Moorish American. Because most of you will, when you come in contact with someone who identifies as Moorish American, you will begin, I promise you, if you haven't already, you should be able to take notice that these people who identify as Moorish American, a lot of them, they don't agree with what it means to be Moorish American. And that's because they don't know. But again, you've got a lot of these people out here. You got those people out there telling you that America is Morocco. I used to be one of those people. I used to think that was the information that was being fed to me. And it wasn't until I began to do my own personal research rather than just listening to what other people were telling me out of celebrity that I started noticing, like, yo, y'all niggas, y'all ain't this is new doctrine. This is foreign. This is foreign conceptual ideology to what that brother up there on the board brought. Drew Ali says, if you lift him up, he will bring all the people to you. Lift him up, and the people will come to you. So again, this is why you see a lot of people out here trying to use that brother, right? Without staying authentic to his, what he brought. The Moorish Americans are not. They're not Indians. Moorish Americans are not Indians. Moorish Americans should never classify themselves as Indians, not because the status of Indian is good or bad, but because that's not the proper status for those who are North African descendants who were born in America. See, Drew Ali specifically says that, he says, why are we Moorish Americans? And his answer is, because we are the descendants of Moroccans. Now listen to this. We are the descendants of Moroccans. Where's Morocco? North Africa. All right. And we were and are born not in Morocco, but in America. Now, mind you, the Native Americans, the American Indian brothers and sisters, they do not identify with being from any continent outside other than America. Drew Ali's information is specifically telling you he's telling you specifically. Oh, come on. Where his people originate. Let's see. So, this map, Drew Ali is saying that his people, initially, they were right here, right? This is where the Jordan is, right? This is the Holy Land. That they came into Egypt, and that they were given permission by the Egyptians, so they're not Egyptian, but they're the carriers of Egyptian ideology, right? That they were given permission, right, to carry out the Egyptian culture out here all across this North African, right, border, right? He talks about Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, right? All of the So that's all up here. He says that we were given permission by the pharaohs of Egypt, right, to extend all of the Egyptian culture this way. Okay? And we're also taught that there are other brothers and sisters who came out of the land of Canaan who had the same information, who spread that information this way, which would again come back into here. Right? The Moorish Americans came to America. They weren't born in America, or excuse me, that is not our native, that is not the native land, in as much as who the people who came with their heritage, their culture, and their custom. Now, Moorish Americans have been living Islam. Grand Rise is living. How you feeling? Islam. So, the Moorish Americans are not the ones who built teepees. They're not the ones who. They're definitely not the people we see on TV. So we have Moorish Americans because they are descendants of Moroccans who were born. So their citizenship, their birthright is in America, not in that North Africa. The American Indians are the quote unquote original peoples of this landmass. They are the original peoples. Let me read this again to you. All right. American Indian or Alaska Native. This is Alaska, right? All right, way over here. This is Alaska. It says a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North, South, and Central America. White, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of, and just for this particular point, we'll just go to North Africa. Moorish Americans, original peoples, we're from Morocco, right? Or excuse me, our lineage, right? Our heritage, our culture, our ancestral identity is from here, Morocco, by way of the Holy Lands, right? But then we know that the Moroccans, right? These are the Moabites. They were in Spain, right? They were in let me see, Spain. Where's Portugal? All right, Portugal, Spain, right? Italy, right? Mind you, these are all close to the African continent, right? This is where the Moorish Americans identify their cultural identity, not as American Indians, but yes, as American citizens. And mind you, by the way, white is the only status, according to the race and ethnicity, that are true American citizens. Doesn't mean that they're true American original peoples, but they're true American citizens of what we call the USA. All right. So, according to the white concept, anyone identified as the white race, right? These are the ones who established the United States of America in 1774. The American Indians, those who call themselves that, they did not establish the United States of America. They are tribal. It says they maintain tribal affiliation, meaning some of the people didn't deal with other people. Now, mind you, we have the Iroquois or the Haudenosaunee, right? Groups of people. These were the tribes of America, of American Indians, who were civilized under this white concept. These are the ones who have North African culture, whether they acknowledge it or not, in the way they address, present their governance. But nonetheless, we have 5 tribes that came together out of all of the potential tribes, right? And all of these 5 tribes were on this side of the map, this side of America. Let's see, east of the Appalachian Mountains, right? And then we have all these other peoples on the western side of the Appalachians, right? So, pardon me. I know for a fact that the white culture, right, of the Olmecan people was found down here in Mexico, right? I know that there are pyramids, right, all the way down here in Argentina, Alabama, and all across the land. So remember, the Moroccans got permission from the pharaohs of Egypt. Well, we know that Egypt is most noticeable. When you think of Egypt, you immediately think pyramids. Okay, so the Moorish Americans are saying that they are the people who came to America with the Egyptian culture and established that Egyptian culture here in America. Moorish Americans, according to the literature, came to civilize the people. So if the Moroccans came to America, right, and all these other, because mind you, the Middle Easterners and the Europeans, or the Asians and the Europeans, they all came here. If everybody came here, intermingled, had children, right, left legacy here, and then those children began to establish, right, the culture all throughout this land. Right? If these people came over here and did that, right, then that means that there was people already here that they civilized, that they brought that into. They brought that culture to them. The American Indian, they definitely use the crescent moon and star. There's certain greetings. And mind you, all of you have done this. Well, if you were born in America and your birth year is anything 1989 and then back. You stood up at your school, right, and you did this. Some form of this. You put your hand on your heart. All right, this is a universal Islamic culture custom. The hand press and the heart press, right? And you stood for allegiance and you pledged your allegiance to America, right? This right here. There are depictions of American Indians who do this as well. This is a culture. This is this is an action that came from somewhere else and was embedded in American, what we call today American culture. The American Indian did not call America America. They didn't call it India either, but that's a whole nother story. Let me see, did it go up? Yeah, it's charging up. Every last one of us has done this here. Most people aren't aware of what this. There are many renditions of what this means. I know for a fact if I do this to any Muslim, they're going to do this back. And not every Muslim is a part of any Freemasonic organization, at least not publicly, all right? Because that's also something that you see in fraternal orders. Now, mind you, I have books on American Indian Freemasonry, right? So again, we find this culture here. But my point, because I feel like I might be getting off point. This brother here went to the Pan American Conference down here in Cuba, right, and represented North Africans. And he says there was an Indian chief there representing the American Indians. That is a distinction that must be made today. These people saying they're Moorish American Indians, that's not what he brought, right? Now, if any of you are wise to it, you can't just go around saying you're an American Indian. You have to have some type of tribal document. A lot of people are selling tribal documents. And again, the reason they're doing so is because according to the race classification, to be an American Indian or an Alaska Native, you have to maintain tribal affiliation or community attachment. All right. And as a Muslim, there is no tribalism within its doctrine. It's a thing. People are still out there in all Muslim countries, if you will, or Islamic states, who may attempt to push that tribalism. As a matter of fact, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his own people of the tribe of Quraysh, right? They were on that tribalism. We got the LOLs, T-Biz, and Travel. How you doing? How you doing? I'm glad that you're laughing. I'm glad that I could be a part of your ha-has and your kikis this morning. Right. Anywho, the American Indians are their own people. They are not North African Moors. Okay. On one of my last segments, I explained how the word Moor is used in different concepts. Damn, I didn't bring down my dictionary. If you get a basic dictionary that has the word Moor in it, it's going to tell you any dark-skinned person. Okay, now the American Indians, they attempt to say that there are no dark-skinned people, whatever the case may be. But then you have these so-called American Indian Moors, right, who say that they were here. These are supposed to be the dark-skinned Indians. So when they use the term Moor, they're really relating to skin tone, not race, but skin tone. They're saying we're the dark-skinned Americans. Well, Moorish American is already attributing to that. And mind you, with the Moorish Americans, with his organization, right, it didn't matter what your complexion was, as long as you identified as a Muslim, right, you were one of the people. As long as you were a member of the organization, you were identified as Moorish American. So again, Moorish in his concept did not specifically or just it was not as special to dark skin. Drew Ali said that I came to you first, meaning the dark skinned Americans, right? Because y'all were the ones who were most out of line. Y'all needed the help the most. So Drew Ali says that he came to the dark skinned Americans of Moroccan descent. But he also says that he came to all nations, and he speaks to all nations about unity. tolerance, right? Living in harmony together here in America. You know, not out here saying that this is yours or this is mine and you're not, right? His movement was to, I believe he said that the Moorish Americans, the intentions of his movement uh, was to lay claim upon all those things that belonged to that nation that were claimed by another nation. And then he goes on to say, just as the European groups are doing. Well, where are the European groups doing this? Here in America. What is it that they are intending to get back? Something that was taken from them. Their identity, their culture, their lineage, their trust law. Right? Now, mind you, in America, you could be whatever religion, right? And you're accepted. You can't go you can't go to other places and say, hey, I'm this, and then expect to be given the same provisions as you would here in America, right? There's all kinds of religious wars going on, and since the Moors, right, since the North Africans, the Middle Easterners, and some of the Europeans brought Islam, right, then that concept of not being able to be one with the people that does not align with the Islamic concept. The Islamic concept says we're all one, right? And so, mind you, the Europeans, the Middle Easterners, and the North Africans, according to this, and in connection with his information, it's saying that these Europeans, right, we've got Turks, right, specifically Syrians, whatnot, Iraqi, Irani, Saudi, right, Irani, we've got Syrian, we've got Israeli, we've got Palestinian for sure, right? We got all of these people who came to America, right? We've got, let's see, definitely Sicily, Italy, right? Spain, Portugal, portions of France. I know for a fact Bolivia, Albania, Kosovo. These are again Turkey, right? These are places in Europe that have Islamic history and culture. It's saying that all of these Muslims, in any which way, shape, fashion, or form, came to America and established culture in the Americas. All right, from Argentina to Alaska, right, and all in between. All of this was established. There was established Islamic states. That's how I put it that way, right? So we're not American Indians. Europeans are not American Indians, right? Middle Easterners are not American Indians. North Africans are not American Indians. Now, there may have been intermixing, right? And, you can identify with as many races as you wish, right? It tells you one or more races. But for me, in understanding this information here, I can't identify as more than one race. So if I have American Indian, ideology, right? Yet I don't maintain tribal affiliation. Let's say I'm an American Indian who's a Muslim. I've heard some of the American Indians testify in truth that their culture is Islamic in its foundation. It's undeniable, right? But let's say I don't maintain the tribal affiliations, right? And let's say that I also have North African in me. My classification would be white. If you maintain tribal affiliation, then you are not a citizen of the United States of America. You have your own classification. That's what this is teaching. And again, this is the ethnicity and race identification form known as the Standard Form 181. All right, you can Google that. You can see this for yourself. Drew Ali also tells his people that they're not blacks, Negroes, coloreds, Ethiopians, African Americans, etc. Right? And you see that black or African American is also on here. And he came to tell his people they're not those people. And he told his people, the North African people. The North African people, they came over here before slavery. All right? Those who identify as African American, they say they came over here through and during slavery. So Moorish Americans don't even idea with the concept of being brought over here, on slave ships. You know, the Moorish Americans identify with the concepts of the Malian Empire. You know, coming over here, what was it? Mansa Musa, Abu Bakr, right? All of these as a matter of fact, the Treaty of Morocco and America deals with Moors out in the high seas. So we know that these North African people were always out here. And there's a treaty between the Moroccan kingdom and the United States kingdom, right? In order to create a bond commercially, right? Which allows safe passage for any American citizen into the ports of Morocco and any Moroccan subject into the ports of America. Right? And a lot of these miseducated Moors, they also try to rely on that treaty and try to insinuate that Moors, again, are not the citizens of the United States. And where they are conceptually fucked up at is that these Moroccans are from Morocco. The Moorish Americans are not from Morocco. Our heritage is over there, but we're from America. We were those Moors who came to America and left the States in America. So when this treaty between Morocco and the United States was in place, or came to be, the Moorish Americans already had nationality here in America. According to Drew Ali, the Moorish Americans lost their nationality in this government in 1774 because they were out here running around trying to follow the gods of Europe, of which they know nothing. All right? So that's how these Moorish Americans lost their identity here. But during that treaty, the Moorish Americans would have been identified, as United States, as citizens of the United States. They would not be identified as Moroccan subjects. So you cannot connect this Moorish American movement to any Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism. So we have Pan-African Moors, along with Native American, conceptually Moors. But let's speak right now. Right? With none of this stuff. I want to talk about Pan-Africanism real quick, because this is another way that you'll be able to identify this counterfeit information, the counterfeit ideologies that are being that was not for. That's cool. That is attempted to be pressed upon a civilized world as an uncivilized concept. All right. Second. I'm not like any of these Moorish Americans out here. So when you come to me and you see my information, I can honestly assure you, and it's not like I meant to do it this way, but I'm in complete opposition with a lot of what these Moorish Americans attempt to express out here, whether they are in an organization or not. All right. You have Pan-African people who believe that they are Moroccan subjects. They believe that they are subject to Moroccan law. Right? And they're teaching people to give their allegiance to Morocco. Their allegiance to Morocco as opposed to their allegiance to the United States of America, right? That's Pan-Africanism means everything African. Okay? They're telling you that we're supposed to align ourselves not with the United States government, right? But with the Moroccan government, right? I don't see any pan-Europeanism here in America where the people are saying, you know, America belongs to Italy. Right? But anyway, what does Noble Drew Ali speak to in regards to his movement and any affiliation Yeah, they tampered with that shit. Let me see here. What does it say? I'm going to tell you. This is a newspaper article, right, entitled "The Moorish Science Temple of America," which was the organization that this man presented to the people in order to bring them back and learn how to be better American citizens, right? And I'm just going to read to you this particular part dealing with Pan-Africanism, right? Drew Ali says about his organization that it is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. So you've got these Moroccan, they're not Moroccan, they're Moorish, right? But they believe that they believe that their allegiance should be to Morocco as opposed to keeping the custom here in America that was already established Islamically for them. That's why there's for freedom of religion for all people, right? Again, they deny the United States, and they're telling you to basically go back to Africa. That's not what his movement is about, right? The mission statement for his organization, when he first established his organization, it was a civic organization. So he was teaching people citizenship from the beginning. All right, he was teaching people civic duties in his organization before the religious aspect of it came out, right? And the mission statement is to uplift fallen humanity, right? And to teach those things necessary to make men and women of our group better citizens. Better citizens, right? And again, Drew Ali was not recognized as going to any Pan-African conference. But he did go with it. He went to the what? The Pan-American Conference. So Drew Ali was a Pan-American. He was not a Pan-Africanist. He was a Pan-Americanist. And he represented the Moors of North Africa, particularly of Morocco. But he represented the North African Muslims who have American citizenship in America at the Pan-American Conference. Drew Ali recognized, honored, and respected the Europeans, the Middle Easterners, the American Indians, the Asians, and all the other people who have pledged their allegiance to the American government. Your American Indian Moors, your Pan-African Moors, both of these groups of people deny the United States citizenship. Outright. They say that this is not our government. Uh, the government was overthrown, and then the de facto government was brought in, and then they just basically stole. They're blaming Europeans only for stealing, right? The government from them. So they're saying that's no longer their government, but that it was their government. Well, if it was your fucking government, then you're still a citizen of the United States, right? Let me see, man. Damn. I need to get that book upstairs, but I'm not gonna go up there right now. Listen, I made a statement to this. Oh, damn. But I'm gonna speak. It says this is another one of the newspaper articles, right? And this is Drew Ali showing that the Moorish Americans and all the Muslim Americans together, right, are not against the Europeans at all, right? He says the idea inculcated in the purposes of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to have everything that belongs to us as a nation that has become a part of another nation, just the same as all other European groups are doing. Just the same as all other European groups are doing. So he's saying that the Moorish Americans, those who are members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, are only out for the same thing that all other European groups are doing. We must have the history of our forefathers taught to our children. We have ceased to calculate our history from the landing of the first 20, if you're aware of that, or the close of the Civil War. This is why I said we're not blacks, Negroes, coloreds. We're not those we're not those people who are identified as not having any national identity anywhere on the planet. He says, while all records of the tombs in the old world are proclaiming our glory to the nations, we have come now demanding that we be given credit for the great work done in the past by our ancestors. So Moorish Americans are only out here to be recognized as through the work done by their ancestors, particularly in America and the world over. They're not here to tell you that America is Morocco. They're not here to tell you that they are the Aboriginal Indians and that nobody else is supposed to be here on this land. That's not what we're out here supposed to be doing, right? We're supposed to be out here seeking the credit because the world knows who we are and what we are, right? This man is saying that the people know, particularly at that time in the 1920s, 1930s, right? In secret organizations, this information was known. Not only did Noble Drew Ali say that he took the covers off for all secret organizations, he actually gave his people, right, the blueprint so that we can now operate within that same structure of organization that was hidden from us, right? Anyway, excuse me. It says, we are not asking others to give these records to the world for us, but we demand that such records be broadcasted to the four winds by us and for us. right? Because that's your freedom of speech, freedom of press, right? Freedom of true identity, or autonomy. There you go, right? It says a pride that goes with the knowledge of great deeds will serve to cause our posterity to take heart and look into the vast future with a hope eternal. Such can never be done except they be taught who they are and where they are from. Where am I from? I'm from America. Where are my ancestors from? Morocco. Where are their ancestors from? Asia. Particularly right there in the land of Canaan. Right? So such can never be taught, such can never be done, except that they be taught who they are and where they are from. Yes, we are demanding that these things be done. And we know that it will require some time before we have created that consciousness in others of our group to assert themselves likewise. But that day is coming when such will be the case. I am that case. I am that case. So that's a fulfillment of a prophecy, or that was a forecasting that has come to light, right? Because I'm letting you all know again that Moorish Americans are Pan Americans, but we have North African descent. We particularly, as Moorish Americans, identify as Americans, right? Here's something else for the Moors, right? So, in a Moorish leader's historical message to America, Drew Ali calls the Moors, Moor is equal to Muhammadan, and the religion of the Moors, as he says, which Drew Ali calls Islamism. Ism means doctrine of, right, is equal to Muhammadanism. Okay? So the Moors are Mohammedans. And their religion is Muhammadanism. Where did Noble Drew Ali learn about Muhammadanism? He learned from an Egyptian high priest named Abdul Hamid Suleiman, who opened up what's called the Old Canaanite Temple. Again, the reference to Canaan, the land of Canaan being the origin of all of our people, who then came into Egypt and then spread that information to the four corners. So, Moor means Muhammadan. Are American Indians Mohammedans? Not all of them say so. Are they all Moors? Not all of them say so. Right? But anyway, the religion of the Moors is Islam. It is Muhammadan. Right? And real quick history. Can y'all see that from here? Can y'all see that when I'm here? All right, cool. Yeah, y'all. All right, so just for y'all to get an idea, what does Egypt? Yeah, what does Egypt and Muhammad? What do they have in common? What does Egypt and Muhammad? Not to mention that damn near every prophet in your religious scriptures went to Egypt, nonetheless. Or you know what? But I already gave the answer. But what does Egypt and Islam have in common? What is the connection? The connection between Egypt and Islam is that Muhammad's ancestry comes from an Egyptian woman. You are to go. You are you. What? You are. Let me see. Did he say anything else? I don't understand what you're saying. You are you to go against Noble Drew Ali. I don't. Again, let me. I want you to speak. Why don't you come on up? I'm just trying to understand what it is that you're saying to me, because I don't understand that. But nonetheless, Muhammad, right, who we know, brought Islam to the forefront, right, according to the times of his people, right. Muhammad is an Ishmaelite. He's an Ishmaeli, right. And if you know, like I know, Abraham, his first son was named Ishmael, and his mother was Hajar, and she was an Egyptian national. Now they use the word slave or bond servant. Bond servant. So she was an agent. Her nationality was that of the Egyptian. Not that she was bound to be, she was not a slave. A servant is not a slave. The difference between a slave and a servant is that a slave has no say-so in anything that they do. She was a bond servant in the same manner that I am a bonded person to the United States of America. All right? I'm a bond servant of the USA. Okay? So now Hajar, right? She was Abraham's first wife to bear a child. Hajar, she's an Egyptian. Okay? So if his grandmother or his great-grandmother is an Egyptian and she's of dark skin, and Abraham, right? Abraham must have came from the land of Canaan somewhere, right? If they had children together, then is it not conceivable that Abraham himself would have also been dark skinned? Just something to throw out there, right? So Abraham and Sarah, Parabrahm and Saraswati, if you know, but we'll keep it here. So Abraham had Israel, or Isaac, Ishaq, through Sarai. All right? So Islam comes over here through Hagar. Right? It comes out of Egypt. Islam comes out of Egypt. That's the connection with Islam and Egypt. All right, someone who, and mind you, right, Muhammad was not, I mean, some will tell you that he was definitely born in Africa, not over there in Mecca, right? He was born in Patras, right? But nonetheless, he had Egyptian heritage and lineage, right? But he was an Arab. Muhammad wasn't going around saying, I'm an Egyptian. Muhammad wasn't going around saying that Arabia was under Egyptian rule. I'm saying that to correspond with these Moors out here telling you that America is at Morocco, or that it's Northwest Africa. America is not Northwest Africa. Those who were in the Northwest African diaspora brought that culture here to America. So the connection to Northwest Maxim and America is that culture. This land is called America. It's not North Africa. It's not Africa. It's not Asia. It's not Europe. Right? Only when the word Amexem means all of the planet can you say that this is Northwest Amexem. You can't say that America is Northwest Amexem as if it's just some type of appendage to North Africa. We're going to make sense here. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Abraham, Ishmael, Hagar, Muhammad, Islam. I don't know if any of you all are aware of it, but if you look at where Jesus was born, the one they call Jesus, Jesus was also born in North Africa. All right. So if Jesus was born in North Africa, and we know that he was born in Israel, then according to this literature and on that map that I had, the land of Canaan was considered a portion of Africa. That's really Afro-Asia. You ever heard of the Afro-Asiatics? It's speaking about that little area right there that connects what we consider Africa with what we consider the Middle East, right? That little cusp, that little crescent area, right? Jesus was supposedly born. He's definitely of the inhabitants of the Canaanites who went into Africa. All right. Jesus was either African or Asian, and he was both. All right. So again, these counterfeit Moors. The counterfeit Moors are the ones who go around saying Jurali, 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 right? And then associating concepts that are not consistent with Noble Jurali's order. You know, El Bays, or first name and then title, no last name, or a changing of the whole name. None of these things are in alignment with Jurali's rendition of what it means, Islam, greetings to yourself, of what it means to be a Moorish American. So you got all of these, you got a lot of people out here pumping a lot of hate and division and then trying to use him. Right? He didn't come with that. Jurali said that if his how did he say it? He says that if the principles that he presented, right, are not carried out in this government by the Moorish Americans and by the other American citizens, right, as a whole. So right there, he's telling you that we're all supposed to be doing the same thing. He says if these things are not presented and carried out, that we will have the worst. The worst is yet to come. I don't know how much more worse of a condition we can be in even at this present moment going into 2026. Right? You see a lot of Moorish Americans out there, if you even pay attention. Right? They have a dislike, a disdain, a disrespect for people of pale skin. I remember when I was coming up through this, when I became aware of this information, right, and I was getting it from filtered sources, right, who were teaching hate. I remember it got so bad that these people who had organized, right, and who were out here calling themselves the Moorish American Consulate, right, they began telling people whether they were Moors or not. And because of because of the lightness of my complexion, these nut-ass motherfuckers was telling me, oh, you're tainted. Oh, you have European blood in you. Oh, you're mixed with the Albion. And I'm like, when? When does my light skin mean that I'm mixed with anybody, first of all? Right? And here's something to just smack them in their mouths, right? Because again, the more that they talk, the more you'll be able to recognize that, they're not using his information. They're just using his platform, right? Listen to what he says in his oral statements, right? I'm not going to put it back up there, but I wish I still had that, I took it down, the map up there, right? Now, mind you, I told you there's people out here who was telling me that because my skin tone, because I'm light skinned, right? That meant some way, somehow, that either my mom or my dad was of a pale skin complexion. Both my mother and my father are dark brown skinned people. Both of them. And there is no European, if you will, pale skin intermixing, at least for 2 or 3 generations getting to me. All right. And my grandmother, my mother's mother, and my mother's mother's father, so my mother's grandfather, they were this complexion. I heard my grandmother say we were Indians years ago. Now, mind you, I don't identify with being an Indian, but I understand that she was a red bone or a yellow bone. And so that's where I get my light-skinnedness. Not because there was any intermixing, but because that complexion was already evident in my DNA pool. And I just so happened to be one of the few, right, where that gene hit me. Because all of my brothers, my sisters, they're darker than me. All of them. I have a brother who I share not just my mother with, but my mother and father with, right? And I was born before him. And he has that chocolate skin tone. And I'm over here looking like peanut butter. Right? Anywho. People are just ignorant. You know what I mean? People don't understand shit. Where is it at? I think I might have come too far up, to be honest with you. 100. All right, here it goes. So it says, Sister M. Peyton Bay of Temples 4 and 25 heard the Holy Prophet say, we, the Moors. Oh, that's not the one important. So she also, okay. She said, the Italians. Where are the Italians from, y'all? Right? It says that the Italians have our blood. So the Italians are our people through our bloodline. Right? But because I have a pale, my skin isn't dark skin or whatever you're telling me that I'm of a European descent and that I'm not a Moor when we're being told that the Moorish bloodline flows through the Italians. And we know specifically which ones. The Sicilians. Because they had an interaction with the North Africans and even the Arabs, right? All up there in Spain, in Portugal, right, etc., etc. Right, as well as Rome, as well as Rome. Istanbul is now sitting where the Roman capital used to be. it is also stated that we, the Moors, have the blood of every nation flowing through our veins. But again, you've got these Moors out here trying to tell you that if you have a mixture in the blood, so to speak, you can't be a true Moor. Nigga. Must I remind you that according to the ethnicity and race form, identification form, white belongs to Europeans, Middle Easterners, and North Africans. Fuck you mean? Drew Ali was never teaching division. All right? Drew Ali was not teaching. When you see these people out here talking about their Moors, they are not living out what this man was teaching. They still got hate in their heart. Right? Drew Ali put out a divine warning in which he said that I am pleading. So it was a divine plea to all these other American citizens, not to his Moors, right? He was speaking to all of these other Americans, right? And told them, please help me remove this great sin, which has been committed and is being practiced by my people, meaning the Moorish Americans, in this government. He said, in this government. Because again, you got some of these Moors in the temples who want to tell you that the temple is that's the government. Your temple is your government. No, it's local. It's a local appendage of that state, right? Drew Ali did not come and establish a new state, right? You got people saying that what Drew Ali did a couple of years later, the Vatican did. The Vatican turned their city, they have a city-state. You have Moors telling you that Drew Ali created a city-state in Chicago, and that his charter was not authorized to him through the state of Illinois, which is crazy to me, because his civic and his religious organization were both right under the direction of the state of the Secretary of State of Illinois. Drew Ali just came to show us how to do business here alongside our fellow men and women. Let me read another excerpt just to point at that, man. Y'all got a lot of Moors out here who are telling you how to do shit, and they're using him, right? They're using him at the forefront, but then behind them, they got people like CM Bay. Well, they've got other people behind them with their deviation. Like, did you know that CM Bay, any Moorish American, right? Let me put it to you this way. Any Moorish American claiming to be of American Indian descent or of Native American heritage, they get that from CM Bay. They don't get that from Drew Ali. They get that from CM Bay. Oh, well, brother, show and prove. Don't just say what you're saying. All right, cool. I'm going to show and prove you that, and then I'm going to read this little bit to you. All of them use AA 222141. They all use that. If they don't use that number, they use the information that number that was registered under this number in the Library of Congress. AA 222141 classifies Moorish Americans as Indians, Negro Indians at that. but it doesn't say Negro or black because he's saying they're Moorish American. If you read, as a matter of fact, the Zodiac, the Moorish Zodiac Constitution. If you read the preamble, most people don't have the preamble, but I'm aware now that some people do, right? But if you read the preamble of that Constitution, first and foremost, CMB tells them that they're supposed to work in harmony with the Europeans. So he keeps that, right? But he identifies the Europeans as white, not the Moorish Americans. According to the race and class identity, North Africans are white. So what is he telling you? What is CMB telling you? That you're not a North African descendant. All of them have if you were to get, I'm going to tell you, right, because I did it, so I'm speaking from experience. If you were to go to your Google search engine or whatever, right, and go to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, right, if you go to their website and you go to their search bar and you type in AA222141, the classification that comes up says Native American. It says Native American. So, Drew Ali, when he went to the Pan American Conference, represented the Moors. And there was an Indian chief that represented the American Indians. Yet, everybody using this AA222141 in the public, they're identifying themselves as not Moorish Americans, not North Africans. And CMB did that. CMB did that. Then following that, that's not what he brought. That's not what he brought. I used to use AA222141. You know, when I stopped using it, when I realized, like, as a matter of fact, there's two reasons. The first reason was when I first got into using AA222141, right, and I was all caught up in that, I remember I was very active on Facebook at that time. And I had somebody they said they were from GS Nama. For those of you who do not know what GS Nama is, GS Nama is the Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs. All right, so this is an organization that is an appendage and an extension of CMB and his Clock of Destiny organization and his social club organization, right? They got in contact with me, right, because I was out here demonstrating, right, using that AA222141 and whatnot, right? And a brother comes, he contacts me and on Facebook Messenger. I wish I still had that. I was very arrogant in my ignorance, which is a common thing to go together. The brother's telling me, he's like, you can't use that, unless you have unless you were authorized to use that number, right? He was like, it belongs to us. And in my ignorance and in my arrogance, I said, man, if it belonged to you, it belonged to me, right? And I cut off all contact with him, right? But then years later, right, I actually had an actual copy of that the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, and I was able to read the preamble, right? And before even the preamble, there were documents stating, and it tells you specifically that you cannot use that number if you are not authorized It has to come through an authorized representative of that clock of destiny social club and organization. All right. Everybody is out here using that number, and they're not even a party to this organization. In the same manner that they're using this man's organization and putting shit in it that ain't got nothing to do with it. You got people out here using that AA22214. Now, mind you, I've seen AA222141 popping up on other people's makeshift ID cards that don't even claim to be Moorish American. Right? I see it on so-called Native American tribal documents or Moorish American tribal documents. I see it on some Hebrew Israelite documents. I see it on a lot of people's, and I'm like, damn, y'all are using AA222141. So mind you, AA222141. That's not even 9 digits, but I guess. Nonetheless, they're using that number in the same manner as an EIN, in the same manner that I use my own special, that's a member's number. I have my own membership club number authorized through my U.S. passport, right? And I use my number. I have one specifically for me. You have people out here who are using that number, and they don't even know each other. They don't follow the same concepts, but they're all using. They jack the jacker basically, you know. And again, they're trying to attribute that to Drew Ali. Drew Ali did not classify his Moors as Native Americans, and he definitely classified his Moors as white, North African. But again, when you read the Constitution, the preamble and whatnot, there is a distinction made where CM Bay is calling the Europeans the whites, right? Because they are white. They're white, right? But he's calling the Moorish, he's not calling the Moorish Americans white. He's saying that we as Moorish Americans need to get with the white Europeans, you know, and live together in harmony. But he's not identifying the Moorish Americans as white, as North African. He's identifying them as American Indians. Is that not a deviation from a truth? All right. So listen, right? And again, everybody using this AA222141, they are not for unity. They are not for tolerance. They are not for equity. It's in their character. All right. Drew Ali, again, it says this is the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs. To this desirable end in time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. We of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless other American citizens, know that we must live together here in America, in harmony friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race and creed may be. It is only from a purely religious standpoint, it seems at this time, that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Muslim religion. We believe in the principles of its teachings insofar as they can be adopted to American life. We feel that the Christian religion is all right for those who prefer it. In America, religious freedom is guaranteed all under the Constitution. So just from those statements there, we see that Drew Ali is aligning himself with America. He's not out here trying to cut ties with America. He's not out here telling people who are in America that they're not American. He's not for none of that. It says, we are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe this can be best done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. So he's not saying, hey, all of America belongs to us. He's saying we're just here to get in where we fit in. We want to be able to come together as a community, right? Put all of our finances together, right? And then build on those things that are necessary, right, to community, alongside all other people, right? Not apart from, right? Because Noble Drew Ali wasn't establishing businesses just so that the Moorish Americans can shop. Everyone can shop there, but all who are a part of the organization benefit. And this is an American institution. This is not a Back to Africa institution. This is not a Native American institution. We welcome into our folds men and women of our group of all sections, all trades, occupations, and professions of sound mind and good character. A lot of these Moors out here, whether they're in the temples or not, right, they're not of sound mind. And they're not of good character. But nonetheless, none of them are out here with business. None of them are out here, right? Where are the trades and the occupations? Where are the men and women of trade that are supposed to be in this organization helping uplift fallen humanity? All of these people are telling you not to be employed out here. They're telling you not to be employed out here. And those who operate within the temple, there is no employment connected to the temple. They'll send you out there into the world. Go work, you know what I'm saying? Get taxed there, and then come back to this Moorish organization, right? And pay your dues and sit in these pews, right? And listen to us tell you over and over and over and over again about how to redeem yourself, about your nationality and divine creed. But none of the motherfuckers is out there. Again, what does Noble Drew Ali say that his group is? Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, so outside of that, it says that it's building on human needs. All of these Moorish science temples of America just deal with religion. And again, I haven't seen legitimate means to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress. I haven't seen any aid in the improvement of health and in the encouragement to the ownership of better homes. I don't see any means to find employment for the members, right? I hear them supposedly teaching these fundamental principles, but again, I don't see none of that. I don't see it. I can't walk outside today. And mind you, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All right, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was the second largest Moorish community out next to Chicago, Illinois. Right, we had all kinds of businesses here. I actually found myself going up to where the Moorish Science Temple of America that was established by Noble Drew Ali. I went up there. I found out that the police had bombed it, literally. There's pictures and everything, right? But I also went to the areas where there were bookstores. Um, 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 there were a couple of different businesses here in Pittsburgh that were that came from this organization. None of that shit's up here. We have no business. There's Moors out here. There's organizations out here. There's no business out here. But I'm supposed to go to the temple to find this stuff. You know, there's supposed to be Moorish communities, not Moorish social clubs. Forward. Cool, we are still charging, and I appreciate that. I don't see it. It says, we are friends and servants of humanity. Go to these Moorish Americans and ask them if they're here to serve the people. Are you a friend and servant to all Americans? Nah, the European ain't American. He's a European. Nigga, you're a fucking North African. Fuck up. Right? Pardon. This should be bothered. Right? He says, we are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. So socially, morally, and economically, we're supposed to be on an even, fair and equal, I don't want to say playing grounds, but social, moral, and economical equality. We're supposed to be out here with our own lands and farms and, you know, enterprises, right? Laundromats, hotels, whatever. Do you see any of that? I don't see any of that. So I don't see any uplifting of fallen humanity. As much as these people are out their mouths with it, I don't see it. Because uplifting fallen humanity, that means everybody. Everybody who was fallen from the concept that all are one, right? We're here to show that all are one. Right? It says, we have set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program, embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So there's supposed to be a program. Where's the program? That's supposed to make Moorish Americans friends and servants of humanity. Where's it at? All I see in the Moorish diaspora is hate, envy, wretchedness, nigga shit. That's all I see. That's all I hear. Right? And then I'll be on Facebook or TikTok or whatever. Right? And I'll see that there are Moorish. I see the Moorish youth, right? I see young boys and girls, the boys with their fezzes on, the girls with their wraps on, right? In these organizations, and you know they're so happy to be a part of it all, and they don't even recognize that what they're about. They're not even coming into what they're supposed to. They're gonna come out here thinking that, hey, if they look like us, they're one of us. All right, that's all I see. My children know that if we see a pale-skinned individual out there in the street, right, that we can have respect for those people who respect us, right? My children, I'm in a community, right? Well, I'm in a territory, if you will, a municipality that has people of all different complexions, right? as I'm sure most, if not all of you are, right? But some may not be, whatever. I had a sister, a pale skinned sister, right, of European descent, right? Not quite sure where in Europe, nonetheless, come to me and tell me how respectful, how kind, and how intelligent my children were in her dealings with them when they would go outside and play and come across her. She may be walking her dog, right? She said, man, they're nothing like the other black children. And I had to correct her, right? Right? But the fact of her being that she came and knocked on my door, said my children are not like those other people. My children are out here, hey, can I help you with your garbage? You know, I've had my children ask me if they were allowed to walk another person's dog just because they want to help. They wish to help people. My children are based on help. They want to help. You know what I'm saying? They're not out here struggling, surviving. No, they're living out here. They don't have that racism in their minds, that concept of because you look like this, you're my enemy. We understand that we're supposed to live here together in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race and creed may be. My babies. You know what I'm saying? These other brothers and sisters, the youth coming into these Moorish organizations, then they're not going to really get that. I don't, and again, I've tried to observe other Moorish Americans and their organizations, right? I remember there was a time when, since everything's digital, there was a Moorish Science Temple of America, right, organized online, right, and I attempted to participate in what they were talking about at that meeting, right? And I'd asked them, right, because I'm looking at all the faces that would show themselves, you know. I'm like, are there any Europeans or Asians in this organization, right? And I mean, if kill a nigga with one look was a thing, people were flabbergasted that I would even ask such a question. Now, mind you, I was reading this man's literature, and what I got from it is that everybody was allowed in, especially if you called yourself a Muslim. And from reading a lot of his information, I realized that he was rubbing elbows with all kinds of people. He wasn't just talking to the so-called black people. He was talking to everybody. Right? He was doing good business with everybody. Right? But again, when I made mention of another group of people, suffice it to say that I was not invited to the next meeting. Because I dared to introduce to the people the potential that comes with doing business with other nations here in America, as this man was telling us to do. Right? It's just, to me, it's crazy. To me, it's crazy. It's crazy that people are being told, don't fuck with these people. Let me ask you this. For those of you who have identified with the black identity, is that not what was done to us? Right? Conceptually, most black Americans say that we were redlined, we were cast aside. So now you see these people who look like us who are doing the same thing, trying to repeat shit, you know? Noble Drew Ali says that the Moors lost their nationality in the United States because they did not honor their divine and national creed, which comes with the Constitution, which declares all men free and equal and free. And they chased after the gods of Europe, and in Europe, not every man, right, is identified as equal or free. All right? So they're out there still doing this dumbass shit. Right? And this is why when you may see anything about Moorish Americans publicly on the news, all you're seeing are the crash outs. You're seeing crash outs who don't know what this man really brought because they're following CM Bay, or they're following the GS Nama, or they're following the round Moore's Order of the Round Table and all those people. They're following all of these splinter groups, right? That do not teach. Let me see here. So you are reducing being it. No. Hey, why don't you come on up? Why don't you come on up? Oh, you can't. Can't. Okay. So Shakaj, if you're still here, I've never heard a Moorish American say don't deal with other people. But have you seen them dealing with other people? Can you see anything on the news? Can you see anything? Oh, whoa, Yashaka. What's up? You're the brother who you Johnson? Are you the brother who connected with me on Facebook? Oh, okay. You're a sister, pardon self. Sister Shaka. You said you've never seen Moorish Americans out here acting like they're not going to do business with any. Can you show me a Moorish American who's in partnership with any other peoples other than Moorish Americans? Can we see any partnerships? Do you have any? Because again, I'm not here to. If it's there, then I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm looking for. And no, I'm not reducing a Moorish American to being just a part of the organization. But if you're not a part of the organization, right? If you're not party to the contract, then you have no say so. Is all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that this brother established an organization, right, an umbrella, which through it, right, all other types of businesses are supposed to come through to assist the people. Do you see it? Show me. Show me an organization of Moorish Americans doing business, public business in America, right? Show it to me. I'll give you an example of Moorish Americans doing business in the public, right? While at the same time, not doing business at least publicly with other groups of American citizens. RV Bay Publications. RV Bay Publications is an authorized, recognized American institution. Has a Duns and Bradstreet number. They pay their tax, all of that, right? They are registered, right? But let someone who, again, you weren't here in the beginning when I was explaining. I dealt with people who, because of the lightness of my skin, they tried to push me out and say that I'm not one of the people, right? RV Bay does that. They do that so much so. I remember some years back, there was a pale-skinned brother, right? And he wanted to be identified as a Moorish American, right? And he filed all of their, notices and all of that, right? And he attempted to get in contact with RV Bay because he wanted his documents to be sealed and all of that. And you have to show pictures of who you are. And when the brother made a quick post, right, on Facebook, he was crying, he was hurt because they denied him because of his skin tone. And they made a mockery of it because he was a European who understood conceptually that all Muslims are one people. Yet when he was trying to get down with the Moors, he was clowned because he was a European. And then the people who tried to push me out, that was, even though you'll hear RV Bay say that there's no connection to the Moorish American consulate peoples or whatever, right? That whole concept of us versus them stemmed from RV Bay. Oh, you're one of those. Yeah, Muslim. MOSLEM and MUSLIM, they mean the same thing. And if you're going to sit there and tell me, oh no, that MOSLM Moslem is more ancient than Muslim. Tell me what language it is, because I know what language it is. I know what language it is, and I know that the people are mispronouncing it. So you are saying Moorish Americans are Muslims. I'm saying that Drew Ali is making it known that the North African descendants born in America are known historically as Muslims. And he's bringing that concept to America, to the minds of the people in America. This is why he chose Islam for the religion of his Moorish Americans. So I'm saying that all Moorish Americans, according to this concept, are Muslim. But we honor all divine prophets. So if you come in as a Buddhist, even as a Christian, right? You can still be within the auspices of the organization, because Drew Ali, if you really look at what he's done in his organization, he's teaching out of all of the religious scriptures. Is what he's doing. He's showing us that whether it is Islam, Christianity, whatever, that the foundational principles found in all of these other religious concepts are one and the same. So yes, I'm saying that all Moorish Americans, according to the Moorish Divine and National Movement, right, are Muslim. Here's another factor as to why Moorish Americans are identified as Muslims, right? North Africans, the North African Moors, were Muslims. They were Muslims. So that's the in I can't remember the year. There's a post that I have on my on this platform, right? Where I'm eating a cookie. If you were to go, you'll see me eating a cookie split screen with a Muslim who's out here explaining when the concept of being Muslim became synonymous with dark skin. And he makes mention that there were the North Africans, the Arabs, and Spaniards and whatnot. And those Spaniards no longer desired to be acknowledged as quote unquote Muslim. And so they went on with Christianity. And in order for them to distinguish who is a pure Christian, right, they started identifying dark skin with Islam in distinguishment of pale skin with Christianity. Okay? So you have Eurasians who didn't want to be considered Eurasian. We just want to be European. All right, we were already under Islam, but we don't want to be under Islam anymore. All right, and we're going to start saying that dark skin is inherently Muslim. Now, if you go and you look up the word Moor in any basic dictionary, it'll say what? Any dark skinned person. So the connection, right? He's bringing to North. He's telling these dark skinned men and women here in America that inherently their ancestors are known to be Muslim. What do you mean? You see here. Islam mode. Peace. So, okay, the sister didn't say anything else afterwards. But again, do your studies, because it seems to me that you feel as though I'm trying to attack your own personal beliefs. That's what it seems like to me, that you hold a particular source or reference of information as dear and true, and you're hearing me tear it up. And so now you're imposing upon me that I'm saying certain things that and you're saying it as if I'm saying it negatively. Right? Drew Ali said that Moorish Americans, the North African descendants of Morocco, who were born in America, who have American citizenship, who've always ever only known America, they are inherently recognized in history as being Muslim. Not that they're all Muslim,
but particularly those in Morocco, those in Tunis, those in Tripoli, those in Algiers. These are Islamic states. These are countries with Islamic government in each one. And he's saying that these Moorish Americans who are here in America, we descend from that. And that through his organization, other Muslims, particularly quote unquote Middle Easterners, but all Muslims, right? Whether they're European or not, because Turkey is in Europe and they're Muslim, right? That they could all come to this organization and be recognized as white according to the race classification that says a white is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Okay? I'm not trying to attack how you feel about a situation. I'm trying to get clarity on what, well, I would rather you have just asked me that, love. You know? And I'm glad that I didn't just go off on a tantrum like I usually do. That's showing growth in my own personal self, right? You're attempting to gain clarity. And you'll be, if you wish, if you so desire, right? Whenever I get done, right, and I close out on here, I'm going to add this to the YouTube channel, right? And that link is in my bio. You'll be able to see from the beginning what I'm talking about. And hopefully that will give you the clarity that you're seeking, you know. But you're more than welcome to ask questions, right? I'm not going to knock you for asking those questions, right? But I'm letting you all know that the Native American Moors, they're not these Moors. When those people claiming Native Americans say they're Moors, they're referencing the word Moor meaning a dark-skinned person, period. Right? But again, if you get a basic dictionary, it says any person, any dark-skinned person, right? And it'll also tell you North Africans, right? Or it'll even say Ethiopians. Drew Ali tells us that we're not Ethiopians. So he's showing us that even though we're not Ethiopians, there's a group of people, Moors, who were misclassified. Though they are us, but we're not Ethiopian. That's not how we identify ourselves as Ethiopian. And another reason why we would not be Ethiopian So Drew Ali teaches us in his literature, right, that the word Ethiopia, right, is only referencing the split between Northwest and Northeast Africa and its dominion, right? So he's saying it's a demarcation line. But another instance that I've come to recognize, right, is that Ethiopia is Christianized. Christian, and even during the time of Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right, the Arab, Ethiopia was known as Abyssinia. So during the time of Islam, when that area was under Islamic rule, that was known as Abyssinia, not Ethiopia. All right. So Drew Ali is saying that the land, he's not even referencing the land called Ethiopia. Did you know that there were two Ethiopias? So we have the Ethiopia today that's on the continent of Africa. But did you know that in India, there were a group of people who were also called Ethiopian because of the darkness of their skin and their culture, right? Indians from India, though, not from America, from India. They were known as the Nagin people, the Naga people, right? They were known as Ethiopians too, and they were not Ethiopians. Ethiopia means Christian in this time. And Drew Ali is saying that the people of our ancestry brought Islam, or we brought Islam relates to equity and Christianity relates to common law. Okay, that's the difference, right? In common law, it's very strict. In equity, it's merciful. All right. Common law is about persecution and punishment. Right? Equity is about tolerance, unity. All right. And again, Durrani says we don't have a problem with anyone who prefers Christianity. Right? Religious freedom is guaranteed to all under the American Constitution. He says that the only difference between the Moorish Americans and some of our other fellow Americans is that we identify with the Muslim faith. Not that we should be out here telling Muslims or telling people, "Oh man, Christianity is not real." That's their business. Christianity is for those whose ancestors established it for their own earthly salvation. How you gonna sit here and tell somebody they shit ain't right and then get mad when they tell you your shit ain't right? You did it to them. You're saying it to them. Where's the tolerance? It is intolerant for me, being a Muslim, to go to a non-Muslim and tell them their religion is inaccurate. I should be worried about my own faith. Right? The only time that I should have any altercation with a non-Muslim is when their faith attempts to impose something upon me that I don't agree with. And that's the only time that a non-Muslim would oppose a Muslim, is when a Muslim is trying to beat into the head of a non-Muslim, right? Their own particular principles. No, you need to live and let live. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. And I'm not trying to hear you tell me I'm wrong. I'm willing to look past our differences and focus on our similarities. That's what I'm here for. That's what he was here for. There were Muslims, there were Jews, there were Arabs. There are all kinds of people in the organization who that's what I meant to say, who identified as Muslim. But this is what I meant to say, because I went on a whole tangent and lost sight, right? Those of you who may have ever seen the nationality card and membership card that was issued through his organization, right? It says that you are declared a Muslim. Right? Your Moorish American identification card also acknowledges that you are a Muslim. Right? So when I say that I am Muslim American, right? When I say I'm Muslim American, I'm identifying with all other Muslims, right? If I say I'm Moorish American, I'm identifying with the Moors particularly, who are not just dark-skinned people, by the way, right? I'm identifying with that ancestry. Muslim is not a land. There is no nation of Muslim. There's no nation of Islam in that concept, right? We have the Ummah. The Ummah is the nation, right? There is a Moorish nation. These particular Moors come from the North African diaspora of the Moabite people who left the lands of Canaan and who settled in Morocco. So Moorish is saying that, hey, that's my ancestry over there. But to say that I'm a Muslim American, and that's what I identify as now, because I just don't like being placed into a fucking a box when people say Moorish American, I don't want to be placed in that box with these crash outs. I was a Muslim before I even learned about this stuff, right? So I know for a fact that no matter where in the world a Muslim is from, right? They will identify first with Islam and then with their nation of origin, right? Someone who is from Yemen, they will say, I'm Muslim American, I'm from Yemen, I'm Yemenis. An Arab, I'm Muslim American, I'm from Saudi Arabia, I'm from Arabia, Peninsula of Arabia. We identify as Muslims first. The nationality card said you're a Muslim, right? Is Moorish a bloodline? Yes, Moorish is a bloodline. And you will find that bloodline in North Africans, Europeans, and Middle Easterns. We have the blood of every nation flowing through us. So yes, it is a bloodline. And again, that bloodline is in everybody. Drew Ali's organization allowed anyone to come in and say, hey, regardless of where you're from, if you're a member here, you're identified as a Moorish American. You can go to your other religious organizations and be identified as whatever the case may be. You can go to your social club, right, and be acknowledged as just social, just these people. But in this organization, if you have a membership card, you're Moorish American. You're a Muslim in America. You're an American Muslim. You're an American Moor. Moor does not mean dark skin. Moor does not necessarily mean to keep it a beam with you. Moor doesn't mean Moroccan in and of itself. When you say Moorish, when we say Moorish, we're talking about all things Islam. Period. Islam is the bloodline. Remember, the Moroccans were once Moabites, and the Moabites are not from Morocco. Moabites are not from Morocco. Moabites are from Asia, or Afro-Asia, up there by the Jordan, in Syria, in Israel, or Palestine. They're from those lands, and they came down from the land of Canaan through Egypt into Africa and settled in Morocco, and then went even further and settled in America. And you had Hamites and Amorites and Edom, all these other people where they went out as well and they established themselves as well. And this is one big family. This is one big family. Drew Ali never taught hate, never taught division. Islam never teaches it. To a Muslim, everybody is inherently Muslim. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and argue with you if you identify with something else. But to me, you're a Muslim. What does Muslim mean? It means free and clear, without burden. Everyone's born pure and clean, to me. That's what Muslim means. Everyone is born under equity. That is Islam to me. Now, if you don't wish to identify with that concept, that's fine. As long as you can identify, or as long as you don't identify, if you don't wish to identify with that identity, at least identify with the concept, right? That all of humanity is one family. We're one family, and we are all broken down into nations, and all nations have nationalities. But there's only one nation, there's only one race, and that's the human race. Let me see. All right. Any other questions, love? So I'm here to help. I'm definitely here to help you get your concepts together. I do not wish to see any more of you people out there in America crashing out, thinking that these fraudulent concepts are real. I don't. I mean, I've been through a lot of them. I was out here running around talking about my car is not registered. There's no jurisdiction. My shit still got took. I still got locked up, got charged, and all of that. It wasn't until I realized that I had to become one with in order to receive those provisions, right, that I stopped doing that dumbass shit. And now I'm out here actually telling the world, right, that shit ain't right. That's not what this brother brought, right? Your truth can be your truth, right? This is my example. This is the individual who I look to, right? Who, by the way, appealed to be one of my own, so to speak, right? He says that we are of the same group. So this is my group leader. And I rely on, this is my ancestor. And I rely on the things that he brought forward to me, right, to lead me into the future. I rely on the principles that he's showing me, the guidance and the protection that comes with those principles being followed, right? This is not my God. This is not my Savior, right? He saved himself. And because I'm following his example, I've saved myself, right? That's the concept. Well, he did not bring that particularly because these rules you speak of weren't established yet. What rules were? What are you talking about? I need you to be more clear. He didn't bring what particularly? Because what rules that I speak of were not established? Drew Ali is saying that these rules were established since 1774. If you were to study his literature, he's saying that this shit was here since 1774. What happened in 1774? The United States of America became an actual thing. So he's saying that since 1774 and beyond, that everything I'm talking about was already here in America. So please explain to me in detail. Well, not in detail, but tell me what you're referring to when you say that he did not bring that. What is that you're talking about? He brought that. He definitely brought everything I'm talking about. He brought. Drew Ali had his passport. When Drew Ali went to the Pan American Conference to acknowledge the Moors, aside from the American Indians and the others, right? He had a passport. So he identified as an American, as a citizen. Because only citizens can get these. You can't get this if you're out here talking about you a non-citizen national. If you get a passport saying that you're a non-citizen national, understand that if you're not from any other country, right, then you're a fucking national of the United States of America. You're a citizen. Let me see. I hope you're still there, beloved. Okay, you see? All right, part of the show. I was waiting. Right. So again, and I did an ancestry.com, not the blood thing, right? Because I'm not giving my DNA up to anybody for any purpose, right? That, especially if somebody I don't know. But I did the whole consensus thing, right? Because I was looking for my own lineage, right? This is when I wanted to see if I was an Indian, right? I was on that whole wave at the time, right? But something told me, why don't I go ahead and check this brother out too, right? And I did deep research. I have the ship manifest. It's called the USS Northland, right? When Noble Drew Ali was docking back in Key West, Florida, right? Coming from Havana, Cuba. And his name's on it. You cannot leave the United States. And mind you, at that time, there weren't any birth certificates or Social Security cards, right? Because I've heard people say, "Oh, you can get over there with just that." Those things weren't a thing at the time. He was able to go to the Pan American Conference. He was able to travel from Florida to Cuba and back. He had a passport. I have the ship manifest. Where can I see? Where can you see that? So it's not in the public. As a matter of fact, leave me a if you can, leave me a message in my messages, right? Give me your email if you're comfortable with that, right? And I will send you that actual ship manifest. You can find it in the census records. All right, you can find it in the census records. That's where I found it. Right. Again, I went on Ancestry.com and I paid for the little whatever, I paid the fee, and I was getting all types of hits on my family, and then I hit his. That's also where I found out that he wasn't born in North Carolina. That's where I found out that he was born in Norfolk, Virginia. And then there are other newspaper articles now found in the census. I actually reached out to a library in Newark, New Jersey, and I reached out to the Chicago Defender in Chicago, Illinois, and I paid a certain fee, and I received newspaper articles, right? And some of those newspaper articles on Drew Ali list him as having his birthplace in Norfolk, Virginia. So when I came across that ship manifest, and I seen that he also stated that he was from Norfolk, Virginia, it brought me in mind to the statement that he made when he tells his Moors that I did not tell you where I was born or who my parents were, right? Because I did not wish for you to make over my mother and father like you did Jesus, or to make over my, where I was born as a shrine. So Drew Ali tells us that he didn't really tell us. I'm sorry, I don't do secret clubs. Man, all right, so listen, right? I'm not with the secret shit. Stop imposing that bullshit on me, right? I actually I opened the door for you. It's not about being secret. As a matter of fact, if you want to take the time to see that shit manifest, you can go on my profile and scroll, because I put it on there. I'm not with the secret shit either. Stop imposing that bullshit on me. All right? If you're not with the secret club, great. I don't have a public source to fucking give you. Do you understand that? I told you it's not in the public. Not because I don't want to put it out there. It's not the fuck out there, fam. But you can get yourself in Ancestry.com and then you can go fucking find it. How about that? Yeah, man. In all respect, I'm done talking. In all respect, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. Nothing. Because you're bugging. You're bugging the fuck out. You're trying to make me out to be like these nut ass niggas that I'm sitting here trying to expose. I'm not with the secret shit either, fam. I'm the only motherfucker out here not with the secret shit, fam. All right? Sit your ass down now, respectfully. Let me get back to what I was doing. Shit crazy, man. Can only be but so patient with people. I swear, man. I'm not with the secret stuff. I'm not even up here selling you shit. Fuck you mean? What do you mean? What are you implying? Are you implying that I'm just going to keep it secret between me and you and no one else? So I'm telling. Fuck that. I'm cool. Respectfully though, right? Because I'm fighting my own inner demons, and I'm learning how to not spaz out when people show their ignorance. It's very ignorant of you to insinuate that I was even on some shit like that. You go find somebody else to bother, sister. On everything. Crash out. Yeah, all right. Here we go. I know that, Brother Joseph. I know that. So she's gonna. You're the one who spoke on it and then say it's not public. Nut ass bitch. I don't have it in the public. Nut ass bitch. Fuck you mean? If it was in the public, I could have fucking told you where to get it in the public. I would have fucking told you where. Okay. You know what? You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Fuck out of here. Pardon self. Again, I'm still learning how to, because you have people who come in and want to instigate. And again, that sister there was definitely one of those people learning that fraudulent bullshit that I'm out here talking about, right? And again, y'all see how that shit bothers me. Because you got people out here trying to distract. She don't know shit about Drew Ali, but she out here telling me that I'm keeping secrets and shit. Fuck out of here, man. Niggas is nuts, man. This is cool. But I'm calm. I'm calmer now. All right. And I don't need my my content being held up because I'm out here exploding on these Roscoe's, these blood clots. All right. But nonetheless, I guess that was necessary, at least enough for me to express to you all and show you all in real time how people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, right, can cause these types of distractions and misunderstandings, right? Stupid ass shit, man. But again, right, for anyone, look, if you wish to get that information, right, that I was speaking about with Drew Ali and the shit manifest, I don't have the picture, right? And I don't, in all honesty, I don't have the picture on file, pardon self, right? And I don't know how to, like, in hand, and I don't know how to use all of this stuff here so that I would be able to, like, put the picture up here, right? Because if I knew how to do that, I would do that. And what I'm gonna do, and I should have done it a long time ago, I'm gonna print this stuff out. All right? And then when I come back on and I'm speaking about certain things, I'm gonna show you all this information. I'm gonna show it to you all. So that y'all can see that, again, I'm not trying to hold it from you. I just don't have it on hand to show it to you. Right? And two, I'm not just out here running my mouth about shit without any qualification. All right? Appreciate you all for coming. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get to that. Right? Be patient. Right? Be thoughtful. Right? Don't let these fraudulent, what did I call them? Don't let these counterfeit concepts, right, go unchecked, right? Appreciate you all. Let me see here. You all take care, right? And I'll be back with y'all later. Peace and love.